Hidden in the Tabantha frontier, buried deep within a towering canyon in the northwestern reaches of Hyrule, lies one of Breath of the Wild's most mysterious locations. It's massive, ancient, and almost completely forgotten by the world. Most players stumble upon it accidentally while exploring, grab the treasure chest, and move on without realizing they've discovered something far more significant than a simple dungeon. The Forgotten Temple is one of the game's strangest mysteries, and its true origins might connect directly to the beginning of the entire Zelda.
Hidden in the Tabantha frontier, buried deep within a towering canyon in the northwestern reaches of Hyrule, lies one of Breath of the Wild's most mysterious locations. It's massive, ancient, and almost completely forgotten by the world. Most players stumble upon it accidentally while exploring, grab the treasure chest, and move on without realizing they've discovered something far more significant than a simple dungeon. The Forgotten Temple is one of the game's strangest mysteries, and its true origins might connect directly to the beginning of the entire Zelda timeline. Today, we're diving into the Forgotten Temple, examining its architecture, its purpose, and exploring a fascinating theory about what this colossal structure actually is. We're looking at environmental storytelling, ancient history, and the possibility that you've been standing in one of the most historically significant locations in the entire Zelda series without even knowing it. Let's explore the mystery that Nintendo never explicitly explained. What is the Forgotten Temple? When you first enter the Forgotten Temple, the scale is breathtaking. This isn't a small dungeon or a minor ruin. This is a colossal stone palace built into the canyon itself, one of the largest structures in all of Breath of the Wild. Ancient stone pillars mark the entrance, weathered by millennia of erosion. The true doorway has been buried for centuries, accessible only from what was once the first floor balcony. Once inside, you enter a vast stone hall littered with rubble and crumpled stone. The structural decay is evident everywhere, but what's striking is that this is intentional architecture, not accidental erosion. The walls, the pillars, the arrangement, everything suggests this was deliberately designed by a civilization far more advanced than the people inhabiting Hyrule at the time of Breath of the Wild. But you're not alone in this temple. Throughout its halls, decayed guardians stand immobilized, their bodies still burning with the malice of Calamity Ganon, though they remain inactive. Their presence suggests this temple was important enough to guard, which raises immediate questions. Guard what? Protect against what? Why were these machines placed here? The temple's size is staggering. It's second only to Hyrule Castle itself, making it one of the most significant structures ever built in the kingdom. Yet the game provides almost no explicit information about it. No NPCs discuss its origins, no books document its purpose. The game leaves you to discover its secrets through exploration and observation alone. The Hall of Records, a temple to honor heroes. According to developer notes, the Forgotten Temple was constructed to keep a record of heroes throughout history who aided the royal family of Hyrule in their countless ancient battles against Ganon. This transforms the temple from a mysterious ruin to a sacred historical monument, a great hall dedicated to honoring the legendary warriors of the past. This purpose becomes clear when you discover the temple's most striking feature, a colossal goddess statue sitting at the center of the main chamber. This isn't just any statue. According to the game's quest description, it's the oldest statue of the goddess found anywhere in Hyrule. More importantly, it was the first of its kind, the original from which all other goddess statues throughout Hyrule settlements descended. This single detail transforms our understanding of the temple. This is a place of worship, a pilgrimage site where the faithful would have come to pay their respects to the legendary warriors of the past and to worship the goddess herself. The scale makes sense now. A colossal goddess statue would require an equally colossal hall to honor it appropriately. The developers also revealed that the original concept emphasized that the temple had been abandoned so long that it had faded from people's memories. No one in modern Hyrule remembers this place. It's not part of cultural memory, not mentioned in histories, not visited by pilgrims. It's completely forgotten, which perfectly explains its name. The Guardians, protectors from an ancient age. What's particularly fascinating is why Guardians are positioned throughout the Forgotten Temple. These mechanical sentries are typically associated with Calamity Ganon, suggesting they invaded during the recent apocalypse. But the developers reveal something crucial. The Guardians here weren't placed by Ganon. They were positioned here long ago, deliberately, to protect this facility. This means the Guardians in the Forgotten Temple are far older than the Calamity. They're ancient sentries, likely dating back to the Sheikah era of prosperity, approximately 10,000 years before the events of Breath of the Wild. For 10,000 years, these mechanical guardians stood in the temple, maintaining their protective vigil over whatever lay inside, slowly accumulating the malice that would eventually corrupt them when Ganon returned. This is staggering. These aren't recent additions to the temple. They're part of the original construction, suggesting the Sheikah civilization valued this temple enough to leave behind their most advanced technology to protect it. What civilization guards a structure for 10 millennia? What required such elaborate security measures? The ancient architecture. Connections to Skyward Sword. The key to understanding the Forgotten Temple's true age and significance lies in its architecture. The design incorporates construction elements clearly inspired by or directly connected to Skyward Sword, the earliest game in the Zelda timeline. The goddess statues found within the Forgotten Temple share architectural similarities with goddess statues found in Skyward Sword. The pillars, the bird-like designs in the walls, the overall stone construction, these aren't coincidental similarities. They represent the same civilization, the same artistic sensibilities, the same ancient culture that built monuments in Skyward Sword's era.
This similarity extends to the goddess springs found throughout Breath of the Wild. Those springs feature the same cubic stone designs, the same pillars, the same goddess statues. They're clearly the ancient decayed remnants of structures from Skyward Sword's time period, and the Forgotten Temple shares these same architectural elements. The stone structures on the Lanayru Promenade further support this connection. The promenade features identical cubic designs, the same loft wing carvings in the same construction style. In fact, the promenade is so similar architecturally that it seems built during the same era for a related purpose, possibly as a pilgrimage route leading to the Spring of Wisdom, given the importance of the Golden Goddesses to Hylian culture. If the springs are from Skyward Sword's era, and the Forgotten Temple shares the same architectural elements, then the Forgotten Temple predates the events of Breath of the Wild by far more than 10,000 years. This temple could date back to before Skyward Sword itself, making it one of the oldest structures in the entire Zelda series. The Sealed Temple Connection. A startling theory. Here's where the mystery deepens into something truly extraordinary. In Skyward Sword, there's a location called the Sealed Temple, one of the most important places in the entire game. This was originally built as the Temple of Hylia during an ancient era when the goddess Hylia lived among the people on the surface. By the time of Skyward Sword, centuries or millennia later, this temple has become partially sealed and is known as the Sealed Temple. It's a location where Link awakens the true Master Sword, where Link and Zelda part ways, where Zelda sleeps for centuries to maintain a seal on the Demon King demise. At the game's conclusion, part of Skyloft descends and a colossal goddess statue falls from the sky, crushing demise and returning to rest behind the sealed temple. Now consider the architectural evidence. The Forgotten Temple contains a colossal goddess statue, the oldest of its kind, surrounded by the ruins of what appears to be an ancient temple. The main hall features 8 large pillars arranged in 2 rows of 4, with a small grove on the left side. These exact architectural elements match the sealed temple's layout in Skyward Sword. In the sealed temple's grove, a sacred tree of life grows, planted from a sapling that would live for millennia. The fruit of this tree possesses healing properties described as a panacea. When you reach the left side of the 8 pillars of the Forgotten Temple, you see a great tree bursting through the rubble. Could this be that same sacred tree having survived for tens of thousands of years? The theory becomes even more compelling when you consider the reconstruction evidence. Throughout the Forgotten Temple, you can see that broken areas of large brick walls have been repaired with smaller bricks in newer construction techniques. The original walls remain visible beneath the repairs, suggesting that around the original ancient sealed temple, a great hall was later built, the Forgotten Temple itself. This raises a stunning possibility.
What if the Forgotten Temple was constructed in the early years of Hyrule's history, built around the ruins of the Sealed Temple as a memorial? After Demise' defeat and the descent of Skyloft, a new civilization rose on the surface, Hyrule. In honor of that beginning, the royalty and people of early Hyrule might have built a temple around the original Sealed Temple, creating the Hall of Records we see in Breath of the Wild. The timeline implications. If this theory is correct, the Forgotten Temple represents something extraordinary, a location that has existed across the entire Zelda timeline, persisting from Skyward Sword through all subsequent games and variations. The goddess statue that fell from Skyloft would be the very statue that Link approaches when he completes all 120 shrines in Breath of the Wild. This would mean that when the hero of the wild receives the green tunic, the wild set earned by completing the shrine quest at the Forgotten Temple, he's receiving it in honor of his achievement within a structure built to commemorate all heroes throughout history. He's standing in the ruins of the Sealed Temple, the birthplace of the Master Sword, where the first hero awakened and drew a blade to vanquish evil. The poetic resonance is profound. 10,000 years of heroes came before you. The first hero drew the Master Sword in this location. Heroes fought through ages, gaining legendary status. And now you, the latest in an unbroken chain of champions stretching back to the beginning of time itself, prove yourself worthy by completing trials in a temple that was built to honor your forebears. The complications and uncertainties. Despite the compelling evidence, some complications cloud this theory. First, there's the Temple of Time, another important Zelda landmark. Hyrule Historia mentions that Rauru built the Temple of Time over the ruins of the original Sealed Temple, with the temple serving as the birthplace of Hyrule. King Rome in Breath of the Wild also mentions this, although both sources carefully note doubts surrounding this idea. If Rauru built the Temple of Time over the Sealed Temple's ruins, then how can the Forgotten Temple also be built over those same ruins? The answer might be that the true origins of these ancient temples have been lost to history. Perhaps the Temple of Time and the Forgotten Temple are different structures, or perhaps one legend replaced the other, or perhaps the details have been confused over millennia. Second, geography presents challenges. The Sealed Temple in Skyward Sword was theoretically the center of the known world. The Forgotten Temple lies far to the northwest in the Tabantha Canyon. However, developers noted that an idea during design was that the temple might have been unearthed by shifts in the Earth's crust, which could explain such a dramatic geographical displacement across thousands of years.
Hyrule's geography is notoriously inconsistent across the timeline and even between different games. This inconsistency was actually considered during the Forgotten Temple's design. With multiple tens of thousands of years having passed, continental shifts, earthquakes, and geological transformation could easily account for such dramatic relocation. Third, the Lanayru Promenade remains enigmatic. Why does it exist? Why does it feature identical architecture to the Forgotten Temple and the Skyward Sword era if its purpose is never explained? It's just empty, grandiose ruins with no clear story. The theory that it was a pilgrimage route to the Spring of Wisdom fits thematically, but it's speculation without confirmation. The genius of environmental storytelling. What makes the Forgotten Temple fascinating, regardless of whether the Sealed Temple connection is correct, is how it exemplifies Zelda's approach to storytelling. The game never explicitly tells you what this place is. It never gives you a quest revealing its history. It never includes a book explaining its origins. Instead, Nintendo trusts players to discover the story through observation, architectural analysis, and careful exploration. The developers released design notes explaining their intentions, which some players found and shared with the community. But even without those notes, a dedicated player could piece together most of the mystery through careful observation. This approach respects player intelligence. It assumes players can recognize architectural styles, connect visual elements to previous games, and piece together narratives from incomplete information. It rewards thorough exploration and attention to detail with intellectual satisfaction. The Forgotten Temple proves that some of the best stories in games aren't told through dialogue or cutscenes. They're told through stone and steel, through the deliberate architectural choices of long-dead civilizations, through the careful placement of objects and structures that communicate meaning without words. What the Forgotten Temple means. Regardless of whether the Forgotten Temple sits atop the ruins of the Sealed Temple, one thing is certain. This location represents Breath of the Wild's most interesting mystery. It's a structure so ancient that it predates human memory. It's a monument to heroes whose names are forgotten. It's a temple that served a crucial purpose that we can only guess at. It's also a reminder of how much history Hyrule contains. Beneath the surface of Breath of the Wild's world lies evidence of ancient civilizations, advanced technology, fallen kingdoms, and forgotten peoples. The Forgotten Temple is just one visible reminder that this world has existed far longer than anyone realizes, with layers of history stacked on top of layers of history. When you receive the green tunic from completing the shrine challenges within this ancient hall, you're not just getting an outfit. You're becoming part of a legacy that extends back through thousands of years of heroes, all the way to the beginning of recorded Hyrulean history. You're proving yourself worthy to join the ranks of legendary warriors remembered in stone. The mystery of the Forgotten Temple remains incompletely solved. The evidence suggests incredible connections to Skyward Sword and the Sealed Temple, but Nintendo deliberately left room for interpretation, for debate, for mystery. In that mystery, that sense of undiscovered history lying just beneath the surface is perhaps the most beautiful aspect of what makes Breath of the Wild's world so compelling. The Forgotten Temple is forgotten in the world of the game, but it's unforgettable for those who discover it. It's a masterpiece of environmental storytelling, a monument to history, and possibly one of the most significant locations in the entire Zelda series. Whether standing atop the ruins of the Sealed Temple or as an independent structure, it represents the depth and richness of Hyrule's layered, complex history.